Hello and welcome back to the channel. So today I want to talk about how there's all this discussion about adding a new week, and also if we add a new week of football, we want to have another bye week. And I kept on thinking about how could that actually work? And I came with this in January and I thought like, well, this is the perfect time to actually release it when the NFL schedule is going to be coming out. I know there's already some games that have already been announced, and then we'll get the whole entire thing tonight. But I just want to kind of propose this new 18 game, two bye week kind of schedule and how it could work for pretty much every single team, and how you can also have the NFL getting more exposure to other out of market things like up in Dublin we've started to do more Madrid, more Germany, and also like maybe a potential other I would say um, international city that's not really international, but kind of close to home. But still, there is a good NFL presence there that hasn't really been tapped into just yet. So, starting off, I think that we can still keep the three preseason games. I know that like Goodell, what he said, like, we don't really want to watch preseason games. Preseason games are still important because one, you still have all these people who are fighting for roster spots. You also have sometimes you have good pickups that you get along the way in the preseason because you're able to see them on different teams and you're able to pick them up and be like, okay, this person's gonna be good for special teams. This person could be a good backup for us. This person could be a potential developmental piece for us later on down the line. So preseason games are still important. So you still start preseason at the beginning of August. You have your three preseason games. The Hall of Fame game, I don't think really should be a fourth game instead. I think it could still be a third game. It could just be the first game that's played instead. So you still have three preseason games for all teams. The Hall of Fame game would just be the first one that's played. Then you have a bye before the regular season. So the bye is going to be that Labor Day weekend. Like I said, that's going to be all college football. College football has its kickoff. So you get to have a full bye week whereby your third preseason game, more than likely you're going to start to try to play some of your players, give them a little more rest, and then like what we have today, I'm basing off of the 2025 season, like this upcoming season, just kind of like let you know. Uh, it would be starting on that Thursday, which in this case would be September 4th. So season starts September 4th, after the Thursday after Labor Day weekend, and the regular season will end in week 19 on the second weekend of January. This way, you can have um, a super wildcard weekend on Martin Luther King weekend. Like, I think that's the best thing you could possibly have because you already have off for Monday for Martin Luther King weekend, and on wildcard weekend you're gonna have 3 days of football. You have Saturday, Sunday, and then also you have that Monday game. So that works perfectly for them. And in this case, if Super Wildcard Weekend is on Martin Luther King weekend, then you have the last weekend of January being the divisional round. You have the first weekend of the first weekend of February is going to be conference championship. Then obviously you have the Pro Bowl, and then you have the Super Bowl is going to be on President's Day weekend, which is what Goodell wants to have anyways, where you could have the off day on Monday because some people are off President's Day weekend, and that could be the recovery from the Super Bowl. So people more often want to be able to tune in to the Super Bowl the whole entire way because they might not have to wake up for work the next day. So how am I actually going to do the two bye weeks? So let's talk about the two bye. So I already talked about how things can kind of be set up. How can we do two bye weeks? Well, I want the NFL to have more exposure, and I think that the NFL also kind of wants to push that way too. So I think that each team could have an international game, and you can work that in to having two bye weeks. That way, you can give rest to after people have a international game, and you can also have a bye week like later on in the year as well, depending on when they play the international game. So let's go ahead and talk about these 8 groups. I'll have 8 groups, and I'll try to explain that a little bit later. But just know that you have common opponents, obviously. So, like in this scenario, I'll use the Lions and the Cowboys. Obviously, two different divisions, but they play each other this year. The NFC North and the NFC East. So in the scenario of 4 groups, which I'll explain a little bit later, The Lions and the Cowboys, and then the Bears and the Commanders are all common opponents, and they'll be in these groups that I'll explain a little bit later. I keep on saying that. Sorry. So, first off, let's just say we'll start off the international games in week 5. So, week 5, you have an international game. That would mean the week right after that, you get a bye week. So, obviously, it's going to be kind of tiring in the beginning because whatever you had in week 4, but you have week 5 international game. Then immediately after that, you get a bye week, and so you get to be able to have some rest. You even are able to explore the city if you would like to, but also gives you like a little bit of rest, and it's not way too early where it's like, okay, now I need more. I need more of a break. Right after your first bye, that's when, of those common opponents, you'll have the Monday Night Football game. So, like I said, in these same opponents, you'll have 2 international games between the 4. You'll have one Monday night game and then one Thursday night game. Now, in the case of the Lions and the Cowboys, they're always on Thanksgiving, so they get another Thursday night game, which I'll talk about in a little bit. And that'll be the Bears at Commanders. I think that'll be an interesting game for Thursday because Amazon wants to have some good games. That could be one of the good games. So just got to preface that. But yeah, so you have a Week 7 Monday Night Football game, and then a Week 10 is your next bye. So you have 5 weeks in between your byes. That way, it gives enough of a break of, okay, well, we got early season to about the end of mid-season, going into like the playoff push into week 10. So that's going to be like your range for your 2 buys. Where like, okay, it's not going to be exactly a third of the way through, but would you rather have your bye week really, really late, or would you rather be able to recover early on? And that'll be kind of the discussion that will happen for some of these teams, like how are we going to be able to handle our season as far as like the extra week, but now we have extra bye. So in that case, that would be the week 10 bye, and then immediately after your second bye, that's when you have your Thursday night football game. So in this case, like I said, week 10 would be a week 11 Thursday night football game. So in decreasing order, that's what's going to happen. So like week 6 international game, you got a week 7 bye, week 8 Monday night football game, week 11 bye, which would be Thursday night football, and it keeps it going down like and it's increasing to be week 7. So in this case, a week 7 international game, this is where the Lions and Cowboys come to play, and I'm going to explain this. So week 7 international game, obviously you got a week 8 bye, you got a week 9 Monday night football game, and then you have a week 12 bye. Now, week 13 is actually Thanksgiving, and every single team plays on Thanksgiving. So that's the reason why there's not going to be a week 12 international game, because obviously they're going to be playing that next Thanksgiving, and that's not giving them a break. So because the Lions and the Cowboys always host on Thanksgiving, that's where the Lions will play the Bears, and the Cowboys will play the Commanders in this scenario as far as like the 4 teams. And I'll explain a little bit more, but just give you that preface of like that's the reason why there's no international games, because it's going to be Thanksgiving and everybody plays on Thanksgiving. Now moving on to week 8. Now this is where it's a little bit tricky because everyone plays on week 13. You'll skip a week, but week 8, you have a week 8 international game, you have a week 9 bye, you have a week 10 Monday Night Football game, and then you have a week 14 bye. So this is where it stresses out a little bit more than previously. So instead, you'll have 6 weeks, roughly. Let's see, 10. Well, yeah, roughly. In between each bye week. That way, I think that'll probably, if I'm thinking about it, that's probably the best thing for me, is possibly because then I have a week 15 Thursday night football game after my bye, and then now I have another little tiny break until the playoff push, like in going from week 16 on. So I think that's the best one for me as far as like playing wise. Now this is where it starts to switch. So obviously, I talked about with the week 5 international game, you get a week 10 bye. Well, now if you have a week 9 international game, so later on in the season, week 9 international game, then you got a week 10 bye, a week 11 Monday Night Football game, but then your first bye was on week 5. So that means that you had a week 6 Thursday night football game. So kind of like I said, I'll have a graphic up to kind of show you like what that actually means, what actually shows. Um, and so that's what's going to be happening for the next ascending order. So like I said, week 10 international game, you got a week 11 bye, week 12 Monday night football game, then a week 6 bye with that week 7 being Thursday night football. And then week 11 international game, week 12 bye, week 13 Monday night football game, week 7 bye with that week 8 Thursday night football game. And then now, because you, like I said, you don't have 12, week 12 is going to be an international game. You don't have a week 13 international game because it's Thanksgiving. So people are going to want to host for Thanksgiving. So the last week of international games is going to be week 14. So you can have a week 14 international game, a week 15 bye, a week 16 Monday Night Football game, and then a week 8 bye. So that's another really good week as well, as far as like spreading out some of your buys until later on in the season, if you feel better about that. So you could either like the week 8 international game or the week 14 international game, but both have their strengths. But like I said, I think that this would be able to work as far as getting everyone two buys. Everyone's going to get an international game, and it'll work out with how you're going to do Thanksgiving on week 13, and also Christmas. There's also going to be another triple header. That's going to be week 17. So, like I said, there's going to be 2 international games per week, and also because they're at 2 different times, that's going to be fine. Because one of the things I want to preface is that obviously over in Germany, over in London, whatnot, like we start around like 8:30 our time. That's like 3:30 their time. So that's perfect time for them. And then on some of the international games that might be either closer to like San Paulo or like Mexico City in this case, you can start them either at noon. You can start them at 3:30 because that's around our time zone. So like that would still be able to work for our as far as like broadcasting, people be able to go to the games, be able to watch the games too. So like you still have 2 per week. I think that will work out perfectly fine. And then where can some of these games be played? So obviously we have Berlin that's going to be started this year. You already had Munich, Madrid starting this year. London's a constant one, but London will have some of it cut down because normally London gets like 3 or 4. You only get 2 games per place. Dublin's being shown right now. San Paulo is one that started last year. Now it's another one that's starting. Mexico City, that's going to be a good one for sure. And then Toronto is the one that we haven't really seen just yet. And in Canada, we have a lot of Canadian players starting coming into the league. I think that'd be a good thing to kind of tap into as far as like another market that obviously you have hockey a lot in Canada, but football's starting to grow a little bit more, and especially with Canadian Football League, I think it'll be important for us to try to start tapping into that, whether that be, you go through a Minnesota or through a Buffalo Bills who are a little bit closer, who can attract a lot more fans to Toronto. So now, like I said, some teams will play multiple Thursday night football games because of the because of the Thanksgiving and Christmas. So I'll talk about that a little bit. But here are the 8 groups that I have divvied up. Now, how do I decide on who's going to be in these 8 groups? Well, they're going to be ever changing, but there's going to be one constant, one rule. So you have 2 pairs from the same exact division being paired with a division that you're going to be facing off against in the schedule. So it's going to be who finished 2nd and 3rd in one division being paired up with someone who's finished 1 and 4 in another division. And these are going to be from the same exact conference too. So it's not as confusing. They're going to be from the same exact conference, just different divisions. So starting off, Group A is going to be Panthers and Falcons. So the Falcons and the Panthers finished 2nd and 3rd with the Rams and the 49ers. Second group is going to be the Dolphins and the Jets, paired up with the Ravens and the Browns. The third group is going to be obviously, like I said, the Commanders and Cowboys, paired up with the Lions and the Bears. The fourth group is going to be the Steelers and the Bengals, paired up with the Bills and the Patriots. And this fifth group is going to be the Seahawks and the Cardinals, paired up with the Bucks and the Saints. The sixth group is going to be the Chargers and Broncos, paired up with the Texans and the Titans. Seventh group is going to be the Colts and the Jaguars paired up with the Chiefs and the Raiders. And then the last group is going to be the Vikings and the Packers paired up with the Eagles and the Giants, which are going to be some very interesting matchups that I think you could have some interesting matchups be in international games. I know that some of the teams will be hating because like they don't get to host that home game, but if you want to have if you want to have a lot of exposure to other teams, I think it's important that you have, some marquee matchups that's going to be like everyone's going to want to go try to go to this game. So now let's talk about the primetime games. The last thing of this video, kind of talk about the primetime games. So on the screen, I'll have all the 8 groups that I just mentioned, their international games, and then also like the Thursday night football games that are associated with this. So we'll go over that first before we go over all of them and kind of show you how I place certain people in certain spots. So starting off in week 4, like I said, you have the Thursday night football game from the week. Where are they at? From the week 7 international game. So that's the week 4 Thursday night football game. So you have the Bears at the Commanders. I think that's going to be an amazing. Like we've had that. I think the last two uh, seasons we've had them. Obviously, 2 years ago that was an awful game, but now it's a marquee matchup where Caleb Williams with Ben Johnson now paired up, and now we're going to be able to see them going against the Commanders, who, like I said, 1-2 once again. I think it's going to be a really good pairing. And it'll be one of those early season. You're kind of hoping that Amazon gets some really good matchups. I think I'm going to do a pretty good job of showing like, okay, we've got some not stinkers, but just like, interesting matchups versus these are really, really stinking good games. And it's going to be like Amazon actually going to be happy. Like, okay, we're not going to get like, hopefully not like a Broncos versus 49ers game because that was awful. Uh, Moving on to the Week 5 international games, that's going to be the Panthers versus the Rams in Munich, and then also the Falcons versus 49ers in Toronto. So I think Falcons 49ers is far enough for them to go to Toronto. That I think it makes it worth it where it's actually an international game. And also, I think there's a chance that, Toronto, Atlanta, I mean, I think there might be some people who travel through there, I would assume, because Atlanta's always busy in the airport. But I think it's going to be good exposure for some of these teams who might not have as much exposure into the Canada market. And also think it'll be a pretty good matchup for the Falcons and the 49ers. Now moving on to week 6. Like I said, I got Thursday night football game and also the international game. So Thursday night football is going to be Saints at Seahawks. Obviously, like the Saints are going to be in a very interesting spot, especially early on in the season. We don't really know. We assume they're going to be really bad. But in this way, it's going to be Clint Kubiak going against his former team. So, like, he's the offensive coordinator for the Saints. Now he's going to be going against now we're going against them with the Seahawks. And I think it could be a interesting matchup. I think the Seahawks will obviously win that one. But like I said, a lot of times these Thursday night football games are not like super duper competitive. Sometimes they're absolutely abhorrent. But I think it'd be a fun little they'll talk about it in the like the nightcap. The international games will be Jets versus Ravens in Dublin, and also the Dolphins versus the Browns in Sao Paulo. Now, like obviously, I think that the Browns are an interesting spot because same as I think with the Saints, we don't know exactly how good they're going to be, but that's how it is a lot of times. Is like I mean, heck, they had the Giants and the Panthers in Munich, so like it's not like they never put bad teams in the international games. But I think, like I said, the Dolphins. I think they have a pretty good. I think they're are pretty good in Sao Paulo, them, and then I think also like the Packers and whatnot. But I think the Dolphins having good exposure in Sao Paulo, that could be something that could be a traditional kind of thing where like obviously you had the London with the Jaguars. You'll have some teams that have a strong presence in some of these countries that I think they'll be a good thing to kind of expose them even more, let them even see a game being played. So I think that'd be great. And then also Jets versus Ravens could be really, really fun to watch in Dublin. Now moving on to week 7. Thursday night football game, Texans at Titans. I think there are going to be some that are going to be divisional matchups going to be on Thursday night football, which we've seen this last couple years. So Texans at Titans, and then also international game, Cowboys versus Bears in Madrid. That's going to be an amazing game. And then Lions versus Commanders in Berlin. Like I said, that's going to be really good games for Madrid and Berlin. For like them, like I said, you're only going to have 2, but you're going to have high marquee matchups to where like we're starting to push into Germany, this is one of those games that are going to get people to be like, okay, we're definitely going to want to come to see this game. Now moving on. Oh, also sorry. The Monday Night Football game is going to be Rams at the Falcons. So Rams at the Falcons. Obviously a little bit earlier season kind of matchup. I think that the Falcons are going to be in a position where they're going to be probably on a little bit of a. They're going to definitely have like a winning record. I think by closer to week 8, week 9. So it's gonna be one of those matchups. It's like, okay, if either one of these teams want to push for the playoffs, which I think the Rams are going to be in the playoffs, but especially the Falcons want to push in the playoffs, this is going to be a huge game for them. So I think that's going to be a good matchup for Monday Night Football in Week 7. Going on to Week 8, Thursday Night Football game, you got Raiders at Colts. I like that it's like a very low stakes kind of game, but it's still going to be important for obviously. You've got, I'm trying to think who's on the Raiders now. Obviously, there's Gardner Minshew, but he's not going to be starting. I would assume not. And like I said, some of these Thursday night games are not going to be the best, but I do have some good matchups coming along the way. International games: Steelers versus Bills in Madrid. So Madrid gets back to back, and then Pats versus Bengals in Munich. Like I said, I think I think this could be an interesting matchup. Always is for some reason. Pats versus the Patriots versus the Bengals. Obviously with Mike Vrabel now under the helm. It'll be interesting to see what happens for the Patriots. I think they have a chance of. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, obviously, but I think they could make a little bit of a push and start to be like, okay, next year is going to be where we make our playoff push, because it's very hard to see. Obviously, we've already seen how Mike Vrabel can be, but we're still kind of like still keep an eye on the Patriots. But I think it'd be a great game for him, the Bengals. And then the Monday Night Football game would be Ravens at Dolphins. Now, obviously, it's not as early in the season where like the Dolphins get like the huge heat index. But by week 8, it's going to be October. October sometimes, especially in the South, can get really, really sticking hot. So I think that'll be something that'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I mean, it'll be Monday Night Football, but like that humidity can be rough. And we've seen before the Ravens going down to the Dolphins. It can be either a really good game or it can be where they run cover 0 the whole entire time because Brian Flores wanted to screw over um, Lamar Jackson. But anyways, I think it'll be a great matchup as well. Week 9, you got Thursday Night Football. You got the Vikings at the Giants. I think, like I said, that's an okay matchup. You got Sam Darnold going. No, it's not Sam Darnold. Sorry. No, boop, boop, boop. Sorry. You got more than likely. Uh, I just can't think of my head off of my head. Anyways, I think it's fine. Like I said, it's a fine matchup. Giants are going to get some primetime games, even though they probably shouldn't get as much. But they're the Giants, so obviously they're going to. The NFC East in general is going to get a lot. Now international games: Bucks at Seahawks in London. Like I said, I think this would be a great matchup. Obviously, you have Baker versus Sam Darnold going to London. Like I said, that matchup and that that story arc from where they started out, where they are now. And then Saints versus Cardinals in San Paulo. I think Cardinals, obviously, I don't know. Like, I don't think like any of them have like strong suits in San Paulo, but I think it's a good game. I think like obviously we're kind of hoping that the Saints are competitive. We don't really know exactly if they're going to be. I don't think they're going to be good, but hopefully it'll be a win for the Cardinals, and they get to show out in front of Brazil. And then Monday Night Football game in Week 9 is going to be Cowboys at Lions. That's going to be amazing right there. I really really like that game. For the Cowboys having to go to the Lions in the midseason form, as far as like both these teams should be pushing for playoff contention. Obviously, don't really know much about the Cowboys, but we're hoping that they'll get back on track. Or the media definitely does. And so them versus the Lions, I think there's gonna be a couple of these games that are gonna be like almost like testers of like, okay, are you on the right track? Are you gonna take that next step to be like, a playoff team? And that would be one of those games. Week 10, Thursday Night Football, Raiders at Pats. Like I said, yes, the Raiders already had a Thursday Night Football game in Week 8. I wanted to give each team at least 3 primetime games. That includes international games. And so in this case, Raiders at Patriots. Like I said, you have Josh McDaniels going up against his former team. And I think there's going to be a lot of contention there. So I think it's going to be a good story arc as far as like the Raiders versus the Patriots. And obviously, like, everything that comes with it, Tom Brady, part owner, going back to the Patriots as well. Anyways, international games, Broncos versus Texans. That's gonna be a great matchup in London as well. So London gets two good games. That way, obviously, like, they're used to getting a lot more games, but now you get two good marquee matchups. I think that'd be fine if you're um, if you're London. And then also Chargers versus Texans in Toronto. I think it's gonna be an interesting game. I think, like, obviously you have two very young special quarterbacks. Obviously Cam Ward's just now getting into the NFL, but it'll be one of those things where you kind of look back and be like, can Cam Ward come against this more than likely top 10, top 5 defense in the Chargers? So I'd love to see that. Toronto as well, getting more exposure to some of these other teams that are not from the North. And then Monday Night Football game would be Bengals at Bills, dude. So that's going to be an amazing game. Like I said, early season form. Same as I think with the Cowboys and the Lions, as far as like, okay, these are testers as far as like, can you make the playoffs? These are going to be coming down. These are the games that are going to be determining seeding. It's going to be determining who wins their division, that kind of thing. That's going to be a great Monday Night Football game because I think there's a lot of good Monday Night Football games that I've come up with. Week 11, Thursday Night Football, you got Panthers at 49ers. Chiefs versus Colts in Berlin. Raiders versus Jags in Mexico. Yes, I know Raiders versus Jags not the biggest matchup, but I think that the Raiders have a pretty good. I think they have a pretty good uh, what's the word I'm looking for? Presence in Mexico. So in Mexico City, Raiders versus Jags gonna be good. Obviously, Travis Hunter. The league is gonna want to put Travis Hunter on a bigger stage. So get ready to see Jags in a little bit more of a bigger setting, and I'll show it a little bit later too. But I think that'd be good. Those would be good matchups. I don't know about the Colts. Colts are interesting team for sure. And then the Cardinals at Bucks or Monday Night Football game, that's gonna be good too. Because I think both these are gonna be two scrappy teams that are gonna be trying to get playoff contention. And like I said, I think it'll be a really great matchup as well. Um, two number ones going against each other with Kyler versus Baker. And then on to week 12, Thursday Night Football, Browns at Jets. Now, if by this time, somehow, some way that Tyrod Taylor is starting, that would be kind of cathartic because basically you got him where he was taking over where Baker took over for him those, 2018 seasons, like so many years ago, and like how the tides turned for Tyrod Taylor. Now it could still be uh, Justin Fields, but who knows? Like I said, Browns at Jets, you still get every team still gets those three primetime games, so that can work out for them. And then Monday Night Football game would be the Chargers at Broncos. Like I said, I think that the Chargers and the Broncos games are going to be so good because the defenses are going to be immaculate. I think both defenses have a chance of being top 5. I like legitimately think that it's going to be a bloodbath wherever you like, whatever game you see. And I think that there's a chance for both these teams to be both these teams to have their divisional matchups be primetime games. Now moving on to week 13, like I said, this is going to be Thanksgiving week. So you got at the 11 o'clock game, you got 11 o'clock my time. Bears at Lions at 2:30. You got the Commanders at the Cowboys, and then the 6 o'clock game is going to be Broncos at Eagles. That's going to be a really good game as well. Really great matchup. For Black Friday, you got a divisional game in the Bengals at the Steelers. Sunday night. Wait, no, sorry, I didn't mention that before. Sorry about that. Whoops. The Monday Night Football game is going to be Chiefs at Jags. Like I said, the NFL is going to want to push Travis Hunter because he's an amazing player, and I think that it's going to be helpful for Jaguars to get a lot more fans in the stands. But now you got one of the biggest teams in the NFL and the Chiefs exposure on Thanksgiving, but now it's going to be Monday Night Football on Thanksgiving weekend going against the Jags. There's a chance that the Jags could be competitive. Just saying, competitive for the division. Week 14, like I said, you got international games. You got Vikings versus Eagles in Dublin. That's going to be an amazing game. So Dublin gets another good matchup. And then Packers versus Giants in Mexico City. I think that's going to be fine. And then the last one, no, I got two more to mention before. I just said putting on all the rest. Steelers at Pats on Thursday Night Football. Obviously, historically, really, really fun matchup. So I think that could be like a Thursday Night Football kind of game. And then the last one of the group of 8 that I'm going to talk about is Monday Night Football, Eagles at Packers. That's going to be a huge matchup for Week 16. You have everything of like, okay, now we've got to push for the playoffs. Both these teams should be playoff teams, so it'll be interesting to see for sure. Now talking about the actual holidays, already talked about before. Black Friday is going to be Bengals versus Steelers, and then you have Sunday night football games going to be Bucks at Bills, and then for the Christmas slate at 11 o'clock, you're going to have it's going to be triple header. So at 11 o'clock my time, yeah, Chiefs at Bills. That's going to be crazy. So that'll be 12 o'clock their time. Packers at Vikings at 2:30, and then that Thursday night football game is going to be Texans at Chargers. For Sunday night football on Christmas, it's going to be Lions at Eagles, and then Monday night football is going to be the Commanders at Dolphins. We're hoping at this point in time that the Dolphins will not be absolutely just like falling apart like they usually are in December, but you never know. So just kind of talking about some of these matchups. I really like some of the matchups already putting on all the primetime games so far. Primetime games this season. Week 1 is a great slate. Like I said, you got Rams at Eagles, you got Vikings at Chargers in Brazil, Bills at Texans, Packers at Steelers. Like I said, there's a lot of good matchups in some of these games. So I'm going to highlight some of them, and then we'll end the video. Lions at Chiefs in Week 2. I think that there's a chance that could be Week 1, but I really like that matchup as well. Ravens at Bills in the Week 2. Like I said, I think there should be a balance of amazing matchups in the beginning of the season where we're going to look back and be like, oh man, this was a huge game for seeding. And then we'll talk about some that are happening a little bit later as well. See some of the other good matchups that are also going to be coming on down the line. Packers at Broncos is going to be a good one in Sunday Night Football in Week 3. Lions at Bengals. Monday Night Football could be really fun, really high scoring in Week 5. Let's see here. What else I could possibly do? Some of these are just divisional matchups, so it's not really anything. Vikings at Seahawks in Week 7. That's another revenge game as well. So that slate is going to be really fun. Like obviously you have the Vikings going to Seattle, where Sam Darnold's going to be looking to try to like avenge like the team that gave up on him. With the rookie, which obviously they were going to do, but still, it should be a fun talking points to talk about for the whole entire week. I see you also another good one. Commanders at Chiefs in Week 10. That's another good one. Really, the international games with that Sunday Night Football game and the Monday Night Football game, really good slate for Week 10. Commanders at Chiefs. The top team and one of the top team in the NFL going against an up and coming team in the Commanders. See how Jaden Daniels is going to be able to do against that Chiefs defense. See here, what's another good one? Our talk about Thanksgiving. Here we go. Week 14, Cowboys at Broncos. Obviously, a couple years ago, that game was a blowout for the Broncos, and now Cowboys going to the Broncos in wintertime, in Mile High. I think that's going to be a huge test for them, and it's going to be one of those things where, like, oh no, if the Cowboys are kind of struggling this season, the media is going to be talking about that. I just think like it's a good media talking point for hopefully they're also going to be talking about the Broncos because at this point in time they're going to be good and they're going to have to talk about the Broncos because we're talking about the Cowboys too. So I really like that matchup as well. Ravens Chiefs in Week 15. That's a really great matchup as well. Sunday Night Football. Chargers Dolphins, obviously the Tua versus Justin Herbert conversation. That'll come into play as well in Week 15. That's not what. Week 16, Sunday Night Football game. The Rams at the Ravens. That's going to be a really good matchup as well. Both these teams are going to be fighting for the division. I think there's a chance both of them win it. And in Week 16, it's going to be playoff time, baby. It's going to be looking for like who's going to be seeding, who's going to have like that first, second, third seed. I think both these teams have a chance of getting either one of those. And also the last time they played, that was an amazing game where I think it was Wallace who had that punt return for a touchdown. Our talk about the Week 17 Christmas slate as well. And then Week 18, Week 19, like I said, these are going to be your divisional round. Not divisional, but these are your division matchups. Same as the thing that has been in the years past where it's like, okay, now to brass tacks, who are going to win the division? And so, like, you know, obviously you have the Giants are going to be another primetime game. I'm sorry, guys, but it's going to happen. Even though they might not be good this year, the Giants are going to have exposure. So like you have a Saturday slate, and you have a Saturday slate where you have a 3 and a 7 game because, like I said, this is in going into January, so there's not as many like college football games can help out along the way. So you're going to have a lot more NFL. So you have a 3 o'clock slate, and you have a 7 o'clock slate. Now that Lions at Bears, that could be fun. And then the Sunday night football game be Rams to the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals are going to be the scrappy teams to be like looking to try to win. Them or the Seahawks. So that'd be interesting to see for sure. The last week, Panthers at Bucks would be fun. Sunday, I'm hoping the Saturday night football. And like I said, I don't know if we'll be able to win the division, but it'd be nice if we have a chance to. And then obviously the Sunday night football game, the last game of the regular season would be the Ravens at the Bengals. So I think this would be if this was the case, this would be a fun primetime game slate. And it kind of just shows you like the idea that I had for if we had an 18 game schedule, and how we'd be able to do the bye weeks. How would each team be able to have an international game, so more exposure as well. And so if you really like the idea, let me know in the comments below. I love to hear your comments. I love to hear your thoughts, and maybe even some of the things like you wish that I had changed in the video. I would love to hear that too. And like I said, as always, I'm going to have 2 weeks out per week. I'm excited. I'm excited for this upcoming season. Obviously, Panthers fans, we're having a lot more optimism, and I hope it's a good season. I hope so. I'm gonna at least go to one of the games. But thank you so much for watching, as always, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.